All right, guys, welcome in. And we have a letter from the chairman today. I'm not sure, and I don't remember if we got one last year, but nonetheless, we have a letter from the chairman this year. And I want to go and kind of take a look at it, go through all this information. Here's a lot of information to go through. But I'm not going to read this whole thing. I do have some cliff notes here on Discord that I'm going to be using. It's actually going to allow me to navigate this a lot easier and keep it kind of like to bullet points. And then I could, just quickly give my feedback on what I see here in this Q&A. So let's get right into it. Alpha 4.0 will be released to the live servers as a part of a 4.0 preview channel. Expected release within 12 hours of this post. Missing mission types and other issues prevent 4.0 from being released to everyone at once. Okay, so what this basically means is we're not getting a full release of Alpha 4.0 this year. And anyone who's followed my channel, anyone who's followed me, I've said that we probably won't get a full release of 4.0 this year. Anyway, to me, I'm not upset about it. I would rather them not release 4.0 in a broken state. I would rather let them let it cook a little bit longer, get it to where it's actually finished, and then give us something actually good that we can actually enjoy, in the future. 2 live releases will be maintained in parallel. Alpha 324.3, all existing data, missions, events, and inventories maintained. No transfer to 4.0 or future versions. 4.0 preview, clean slate. 4.0 preview includes server meshing, pyro, and many other 4.0 features. All 4.0 progress preview is intended to carry over to future release. Now, this says intended. This doesn't say that it actually will, but they do intend to carry over your data from this preview channel to the next live server. So basically what this means is if you ain't got a big enough hard drive, go get you a big enough hard drive so that you can carry both of these on your hard drives. Like I have a 2 terabyte hard drive that's solely dedicated for just Star Citizen. That should tell you how big these game files are getting. Save Stanton and other related events will continue to be available on 324.3 over the holiday break. Also, if anyone has the OpenPTU right now on their computers, when they release this to live, don't delete your ePTU folder. What you should do is you should go into where it's actually saved at, and instead of like deleting it, just rename it to whatever they have this new tech preview channel. And that way when you go to update it, if any keybinds and other settings that you may have saved carry over to this new build of the game. 4.0 content, server meshing, seamless navigation between Stanton and Pyro with invisible server boundaries. Server crashes are now localized, improving performance and playability. I have noticed this to some degree, but desync can still be a little bit janky sometimes. Server load is reduced by having each server simulate fewer entities. Now, I do believe this is a part of their new cleanup thing, which I've been asking for a very, very long time, because in Stanton and Pyro, there's just ships littered everywhere, and it's getting kind of annoying to the point where if you're flying to like a location, you can't target anything because there's like 10 to 15 ships in any location. So I do think that's, a good thing and a good change. Pyro system adds 2 competing mission chains tied to the Headhunters or Citizens for Prosperity factions. This is pretty good, so we'll see how that plays out. Right now, it's actually working pretty well because I had some reputation with Headhunters, and I went over to a Citizens for Prosperity outpost, and the missile turrets were shooting at me, so that is working as intended. Contested zones, locations in Pyro controlled by gang factions, Fire Rats, Horizon, Xenothreat, offering high rewards but requiring player conflict or cooperation. The contested zones for me are kind of like hit or miss. I do think that players will eventually start farming these things and just going to locations and just getting the key cards and just kind of figuring out a way to speedrun them, and that way that they can go and just take the equipment and start saving it and things like that. I do think that with this change that the bigger your crew is, the better. But then again, you're going to have to figure out how you're going to divide up all those assets. Who's going to get the ship, who's going to get the components and things like that. And that could even create a little bit of infighting in your own org and things like that too. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. Reputation system expanded to allow players to align with factions affecting friendly hostile areas. I just kind of touched on that with the Citizens for Prosperity. New mission progression methods and introduction of reputation and physical rewards, setting the stage for more in future updates. Now, this one could be potentially pretty good too, because I think just getting ship upgrades through the contested zones is kind of this. It doesn't help the solo player, and I think that if players are able to get, you know, ship components and things like that for helping out certain factions in Stanton and Pyro, I do think that's a good reward. And it also allows the solo players to achieve those same rewards without having to go through and play with other players, right? 2025, a focus on stability. The primary goal of 2025 is improving player stability, concentrating on performance, stability, and content. Quality of life. Efforts will focus on smoother gameplay with fewer bugs and obstacles, addressing tech debt while balancing new features and tech introductions. Challenges in feature content and testing. Previous testing of new features with content pipelines cause instability and delays. This approach will change to improve reliability. Decoupling feature developments. New features will be tested separately from content releases. Okay, so complex features will go through experimental EPTU for focus testing before integrating into the main pipeline. So this sounds like if they're going to be having new features, I don't know what new features are, would be a good example, but maybe like the new quantum travel system and the quantum boost mechanic will probably be tested solely separately from the from whatever other updates are going to be in those patches. That's going to be pretty interesting to say the least. By isolating testing development will improve stability, performance, and quality of life without disrupting content delivery. Connected content drops. Future content releases will be more focused and narrative driven, offering more reward ships, armor, weapons to enhance playability. They kind of touched on this earlier as well. I think that's a good thing. We do need more narrative based stuff. I'm actually making a video on narrative and how they can really improve that with some interesting AI technology. So look up for that video coming up here in the next couple of days. More frequent content updates. Aim to deliver more content more often, avoiding delays caused by tech or feature development. That could be potentially huge, but again, when it comes to CIG and their implementation, I don't really trust it all that much. Make Star Citizen more stable, performant, and fun in 2025. Now, they don't say how they're going to do this, but I do have some ideas on how they can do this without, how can I say, here's just some feedback, right? Fix the damn flight model. I truly believe that the flight model is the core piece of what makes Star Citizen, and without that core piece and that core element, Star Citizen just isn't Star Citizen. I've said this before and I'll say this again. To me, Star Citizen is a game about flying spaceships. Like it's a core part of the game. You can't do anything in this game without flying a spaceship, being flown in the spaceship, or having someone fly you in your spaceship. So it's a game about flying spaceships. This flight model should connect us to the other gameplay types and not be this arbitrary thing to where it's merely just used for transportation. It needs to be deeper. It needs to be more engaging in that, especially in the terms of the flight combat. And I don't agree with using crafting solely to make, you know, tier 5 ships, which I think, based on what they're saying, could potentially be something they're trying to get away from a little bit. Like if we can get ship upgrades by working with the UEE military or different mercenary factions, then that could be potentially a good alternative to crafting, because personally I don't want to do that. I don't want to build a base. Development philosophy. Chris Roberts reflects on creating games based on personal passion and vision, unimpeded by publishers. But to become a publisher, they're starting to act like one, really. Crowdfunding allowed Star Citizen Squadron 42 to pursue ambitious niche projects. Community impact, ongoing support from the community is vital for development. That means go out and buy more spaceships, guys. In 2024, the community hosted 203 Bar Citizens, which large in-person events like BCon, I don't know what that means, and CitizenCon, drawing thousands. Over 1 million players contributed 32 million hours of gameplay, and the community grew by 500,000. Now that number could be fluffed because of how, people have, duplicate accounts and things like that. But that's been your letter from the chairman. Let me know what you guys think down below. I do think that if they want to improve the game in 2025, if that's really their focus, and if any devs or any CIG employees happen to stumble across this video, I just want the community at large to understand this, is that I don't hate CIG and I don't hate Star Citizen. I want Star Citizen to be as successful as possible, right? But in order for them to do that, they need to be honest with themselves, and they need to be honest with the community, which is us, the customers. And if we're telling them that we don't like something, despite what their vision may be, it's ultimately on them to actually listen to our feedback and say like, hey, we don't want this thing and you should change it. Then they should listen to that, because if they had listened to us with master modes in the beginning, I don't think that we would have these problems right now. I think the speeds are still too slow. An F-22 Raptor in atmosphere goes faster than every ship in Star Citizen. Maybe besides, well, it is faster than even like the Archimedes. It's like 670 meters per second without afterburner, which is crazy. So I think that the flight model could use a lot of love in 2025. Give us some of our speed back, allow us to tricord, allow us to have those different variations in how we choose to fight within the game, and let's just make Star Citizen great and fun once again, and let the people who have only spent that starter ship money feel like they've have money well spent into the game, and they get their value for what they paid for. And if you guys agree, disagree, let me know what you think about the letter from the chairman down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.